All right, I am live here on the Creative Impostor with Laura Reeves from Pure Dog Talk and the Marty and Laura Show. And I wanted to bring Laura on to our special series about when your art becomes your job. Because, well, actually, what I've been learning, to be truthful, what I've been learning is that Laura has had many lives,
Yes.
many careers,
Yes. And not
and
in
many
the
passions.
gone back. What is that? Relived? No, none of that. What is the Hindu one where you come back as
Oh,
something else?
reincarnation?
Reincarnation. No, not reincarnated lives, just regular lives.
Regular lives within one lifetime. One identity, one lifetime.
Mhm.
And a lot of those have been passions, interests, hobbies, things that she loves going into professionalization mode. And the first thing I want to ask, I mean, obviously, Pure Dog Talk, we know that there is something to do with dogs. So I'm going to ask you in this iteration of your life and your work, why dogs?
My family had dogs from the time I was a little kid. We had lots and lots and lots of dogs, always lots of dogs. We had more dogs than we had, you know, it was a hunting family. So we had guns to go hunting. It was a real, like, the Laura Ingalls Wilder anniversary when I was in elementary school, and my mom took that really seriously, and she started making lye soap. I mean, I grew up in the Wild West, so it was just dogs
What state
everywhere
were
all
you
the
in?
time. Oregon, Southern
Oregon.
Oregon.
Okay.
Mhm. And so, we had dogs, we had horses, we had a garden, we had an orchard. It was very, kind of homesteady, that era and of the late 70s. And eventually my father got tired of hauling hay and building fence for my horses. And he said, if you get rid of these blankety blank horses, I will buy you any purebred dog you want. And that was because when I was in fourth grade, my mother enrolled me in dog care 4 H because I was, and I quote, shy and retiring and lacked people skills. That was my mother's quote. So, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And who needs people skills anyway? But
Right.
dog care 4 H truly, literally, and honestly um, enabled me to be who I am today. And when my father said, I'll get you a purebred dog so I could go beyond 4 H, right? I could go to show and AKC dog shows. That was a really big deal. And so we did. And my family went way, 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 way down the rabbit hole of dog shows and competitive field events and an entire lifetime now, basically since I was, 12? Yeah.
Okay. So first dog breed was
English setter. I had been studying Amelia Earhart in school, and I wanted to name her Amy. And her registered name, right, like her fancy name with the
yes.
kennel club, was Edwardian Secret Love. And my father thought she was ugly, so he decided her name should be Edsel, like the ugliest car known to man. And then he said whoever could make her come to her name first got to name her, and he cheated and used food. So her name was Edsel.
Oh
For
no.
real. For real, for real. She was pathetic. She really was kind of a sad little dog. She was born during the time that parvovirus had just become a thing, and it
Okay.
was killing thousands of dogs across the country. They had no vaccine for it yet. And her litter had been affected, and she was kind of sickly and pathetic. And she wore my brother's sweater vest. We cut it down the back and safety pinned it on her until she was like almost a year old. I mean, it was crazy.
Okay, so then I have to ask, and so for listeners, I know we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. I know nothing about dog shows except what I learned from watching the Christopher Guest movie Best in Show.
Mhm.
So and Laura tells me that this is pretty true to life.
Pretty much. So if you've seen the movie Best in Show, I have, I know, I know each of those kind of like uh, characters right? The character types. I
Yeah.
know all of them. And I actually personally know many of the people that were extras in the movie because they're dog show people. And I knew them. And as I was telling Andrea, I was almost in the movie. One of my clients called me up and said, "Hey, run up to BC tomorrow." And I was living in Seattle at the time. And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm busy. It sounds dumb." So yeah. Yep. It's a great flick. We love it. It's for real. I owned a Busy Bee, like, for my dogs. So yeah.
I have to ask because I'm a little distracted by the naming, the official names of show
Uh-huh.
dogs. Is there
Uh-huh.
like what's the strategy behind what's
So
the art or the
there's a
architecture of
there's
that?
a whole thing, right? There's a whole strategy to this. So usually the first part of a dog's name, not always, but usually the first part. So Edwardian, right? In Edwardian Secret Lab, that's what we consider the kennel name that identifies the breeder of the dog. And then over the course of time, many of us have taken to naming in a theme. So that was mine and my mom's favorite thing, was to pick a theme for our next litter of puppies. And we would spend hours and days and months planning for this litter of puppies because we wanted to have just the right names for all of them. And it was very important that the names be what we would call advertisable, because if it became a really good dog and was really famous and we were going to advertise it in the dog magazines, it needed to be a good name, right? So we did an entire litter of Jimmy Buffett songs as the names of the dogs. And so the very famous one that came from that litter was called Ragtop Day. And his name, like, if to just around the house, his call name was Cruiser. So like that. And he was very famous and he was advertised all over the world.
So do the dogs do they know their formal names? Do they
No,
respond or they only respond to their call
no.
name?
They don't even
Okay.
usually their call name is Cruiser and you call him Yo whatever. some some bad word. No, bad dog. Stop chewing on that, right?
Oh
So
man.
yeah, the great thing about dogs is they don't actually understand so much about the words we say to them.
Yeah.
They understand our body language and our tone of voice. And well, some dogs, you can kind of get them, bring me a slipper. And they know that if you're sitting in the chair, they want you to run up to the closet and get your slippers or go get the newspaper or, some of those things you can give words to. But typically and generally speaking, most dogs understand your body posture, right? Are
Mhm.
my shoulders back and I'm standing up and mad? And they can tell mad. They can tell tone of voice. They can tell face. They can tell even nervous. If when you're nervous, you
Mhm.
sweat and they can smell that.
Mm.
So dogs are absolutely incredible, and the ability to communicate with them, right, in a language that they understand is a really, really big part of what I do and what we do.
Okay, so 12-year-old Laura was first starting to get into purebred dogs, showing them
Mhm. Yep.
when did it become work? Like when did it stop being a fun hobby and or maybe it never was a fun hobby. I'm
Oh,
not
it was
sure,
always
but
a fun hobby, and at a level, it still is a fun hobby, but I showed all my parents' dogs, showed in junior showmanship, did all the stuff, went to college, and didn't really do a lot while I was in college. I was busy. My dad didn't ever want me to have an after school job. He wanted me to work on my studies. It was very important. And so I would train dogs at home to make what was then minimum wage to earn money because I wasn't supposed to go work at McDonald's because I needed to be at home to do my
yeah.
so college was a big deal. And I went to just a little private liberal arts school, graduated pretty fast because I had credits from high school, blah, blah, blah. Got a degree in communications and went to work as a newspaper reporter, which had been kind of my dream job. And so I did that for a couple of years. There was family crisis, life, and wound up in Seattle with friends of mine working for a credit union doing marketing, which was definitely not my dream job.
Okay.
me and corporate America are not pals. And so I quit. Took $1,000 payout from a fender bender in my little Honda Civic and started a business doing freelance writing and freelance marketing. And I, at about the same time, um, my mom still had German Wirehair Pointer, which was a breed that we had become involved in over the time. And she sent it to me because it was just not, it was too much dog for her.
Mm.
And so that sort of resurrected my love for the German Wirehair Pointer. And I have been involved in that breed since whatever that was, 1994 probably. And I started showing other people's dogs, and pretty soon I was making more money doing that than I was the freelance writing. And so I was like, well, I guess now I'm a professional handler.
So then, professional handler, and then how did that bridge to the next thing?
So I showed dogs professionally for 25 years. So my
Okay.
income was based on showing other people's dogs for them. So I like to think of it as making people's dreams come true. They have a dog and they want it to be famous, and I would make it be famous. So that involved training and grooming and conditioning and a lot of running in left-handed circles in ugly shoes in your grandma's outfits. That's real. That's legit real. I bought everything at Goodwill because it was going to have dog pee and jism and spit all over it. And, why am I going to spend $500 on something that's going to be trashed in about 6 months?
Yeah.
So I did that. Some health issues along the way. I knew I was not going to be able to do that for life.
Yeah.
So I had been planning to retire at a certain point and trying to figure out what I was going to do in my retirement, right? Like I still got to make money because I was only 50.
Mhm.
And serendipity is a thing. Happened to be chatting with another exhibitor at a dog show. Turns out that she was a Hollywood stunt coordinator, worked on all kinds of movies and TV shows. So she had a lot more of a like technical, up on the world kind of vision than I did. And we started talking about some different programs that we want to do education for within the world of purebred dogs.
Mhm.
And talking about that, she's like, well, I want you to host a podcast. And I'm like, what's a podcast?
That was honestly
Literally.
the first time somebody said, oh, you should host a podcast. I was like, I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. So I tried to find a podcast, and this is 2016. Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2016, podcasts were mostly about money and tech stuff, none of which appealed to me. And the only, this is so fantastic. Seriously, the only podcast I ran across that I had any, like, what in the world was Savage Love by Dan
For
Savage.
Dan Savage. Yeah.
Because I lived in Seattle. I worked in the freelance time. I worked for a variety of kind of underground rags, including The Stranger, which is where Dan Savage's column started. And I knew Dan Savage. I'd met him. And so when I saw that Dan Savage in 2016 had 500 episodes, that became like, okay, that's my goal. I want to have 500 episodes of this podcast, just like Dan Savage. And so now I'm at episode 700 and something. So,
and this is Pure Dog Talk specifically.
Pure Dog Talk.
Mm-hmm. Was it always called that from the beginning?
Yep. It's been Pure Dog Talk since the beginning. Mary and I brainstormed it, workshopped it, did all the stuff, started it from scratch. And we've got, a couple million downloads and 350,000 unique listeners, and pretty good audience within our kind of like a tadpole, right? Puddle.
Yeah.
It's just a pretty small niche audience.
Well, I think it's amazing because I think it's a pure representation of when we say podcast, like, I think so there's people who think of like the big shows that
Yeah,
have like a celebrity
Rogan
host
or
that kind
right,
of appeal
right,
to like a
right.
broad cross section, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But I think the magic of podcasting is when even thinking of the word pod, like some people are
Mhm.
like, oh, it's because of iPod or because of this. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, it's also because of it's describing a niche
Mhm.
audience. Like
Mhm.
one of the cool things
Mhm.
about podcasting and about it being an open, basically an open source,
Yeah,
independent type of medium
yeah.
is that you don't have to be broadcast, right? You don't have to appeal to a wide audience. You
Mhm.
can go super deep
This
on
is as
your
super
niche
niche as it
audience.
gets, man.
Yeah. Well, but you've built a thriving business
Mhm.
around
Yeah,
this
yeah,
model.
yep.
As you were talking of, looking at what is the future, I'm not going to be able to, physically,
Mhm.
healthfully not going to be able to
Mhm.
show dogs forever.
Mhm.
So like, what is this retirement? And,
Yeah.
even I'm thinking about that as a podcast producer and strategist, which I'm like, uh-oh, your retirement plan is what I'm doing now. And
Right.
I'm like,
And
wait, I can't do this forever. Where does that leave me for retirement?
podcasting, man, how hard is it? You sit down, you talk to people, you have a microphone and a computer, boom, you're done.
But you've built this thriving business around Pure Dog Talk and
Yeah.
around talking about that niche
Mhm.
ecosystem
Mhm.
of the purebreds and the show dogs. But you wait, there's more because you decided to double down on podcasting
Yeah. Double dip,
and
man.
double down in a big way. And I don't know how long ago the Marty and Laura show began, but tell me
Just a
about
year
that.
ago.
A
Just
year
in
ago, okay.
January. Mhm. So, as I grew Pure Dog Talk and developed the audience, developed a variety of kind of rotating guests and certain people that I really enjoyed, one of the people that was a regular guest and still is a regular guest on Pure Dog Talk is a veterinarian by the name of Dr. Marty Greer. She's located in Wisconsin. She is the chief veterinary officer for Revival, which is a animal health like online order place. Just a ton of stuff. She's the 2023 Veterinarian of the Year from recognized by the Westminster Kennel Club. So she's very, very, very well known and active. And she and I also got to be friends. And over the course of time, we did enough work on the Pure Dog Talk podcast that we would be in a public space at a dog event and just chatting, and someone would come screaming up in the women's bathroom like, "Oh my God, you're Marty and Laura." I'm like, yeah, yeah. A little scared that you know that, but okay.
Recognized by voice, right? By
Recognized
sound
by
of voice.
voice.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly, which is kind of a bizarre concept, but there it is. So that was kind of in the back of my mind when we created this new show, and the idea that that we had between the two of us is that in the world that we live in today, people don't get a lot of opportunity to have what we think of as animal husbandry, like just basic knowledge about pets, pet animals, never mind anything beyond that. And we see a lot of people in the world who just don't have a basis for understanding about their pets, or whether it's a new dog or an old dog or a sick dog or a new cat or your rescue cat that lived in the closet, right? They just don't have a basis for that understanding, and we wanted to be able to reach out to the much larger than purebred dog world, right? Like we personally love and enjoy purebred dogs, but not everybody does, and not everybody has to, right? Like we're not here to proselytize, right? But rather to share knowledge, veterinary knowledge, lived experience, hands on with, between the two of us, we have um, over 75 years of combined knowledge and experience, hands on with thousands and thousands and thousands of animals. And so, not dating myself too much or anything. So that's what we decided to do. We created the Marty and Laura show to help people have knowledge and information and access to facts. And I think, you know, in the world that we're in, right? It's AI driven, it's social media centric. Lots of people have access to opinions, but those opinions are not necessarily fact based. And it gets animals in trouble. And so we're reaching out to the people, but it's with the understanding that we're trying to help the pets. Because if you have bad information, your pet will suffer. And we want to avoid that.
Do you have any examples of, I mean, not to get too dark or anything, but do you have any
Sure.
examples of things that you've been seeing or hearing happening?
The list is so long. I mean, something as simple as the fact that xylitol is poisonous to dogs.
Oh,
So if you don't get that information to them and the dog picks up your chewing gum, your sugar-free gum off the ground, it can make it very, very ill, and can have much more consequences the more they get into, right? So just basic information that people just don't have. Good information about vaccines. And there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy out there in the world for people. Well, it goes to pets too, and it's costing pets their lives. And so all that, just there's so much knowledge that's available to people if we can just get it to them, right? And so that's the whole point behind the Marty and Laura show.
And now, something that you and I talked a little bit about before when we first met was, to me, not being, I'm not a dog person.
Sure.
I am a
Yeah.
cat person. But I thought, oh, well, yeah, obviously you could have a show for people who show dogs and in the purebred space, and then you can have a show for pet owners, and those should go together perfectly naturally and have like some crossover and stuff. But you surprised me when you said that no,
Not
actually,
necessarily.
there's a huge divide between these two audiences, and this was kind of what I named this episode or this live
Right.
stream was building a bridge between
Yes.
audiences, because there is sort of this chasm, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Putting a bridge across that chasm is what we want to do. Like we really, average people out in the world, John Q. Public, for Jan Q. Public, right? The average human out there like yourself. There's been a lot of conversation in the world and misunderstandings and myths about people who either have purebred dogs or breed purebred dogs, or just the general concept that it's just not based on fact. And so trying to help people get good information and see people who are involved in our activities as just regular people with a lot of knowledge and what we think of as actual subject matter experts, I think is it's amazing how difficult that can be. There are in my world, there's a lot of people that are very, very, very actively involved in animal welfare, right? Really making sure that pets are well cared for, that they have, appropriate housing and food and care and training and become canine good citizens, like all of that kind of stuff. There's other folks that don't have that same way of thinking. And so, I think that the divide in the audience, if you think of it like focusing on the purebred dogs, think of it in the world of specialists and general practice, right? So if you're a specialist as a heart surgeon, you probably know what to do if someone gets the flu, but that's not what you always talk about. And if you are a general practice doctor or something like that, you know what to do with the flu, but if you have a really tough cancer case, you send it over here to the oncologist. So it's a similar kind of concept. Like we're trying to bridge the gap between the specialist and the general practice individuals and help them share information and have um, shared knowledge, right? Like instead of living in our media bubbles, we live in media bubbles in politics. Well, we live in media bubbles in pet ownership also. And so trying to join those bubbles, I'm not getting into the politics, that's not my problem, but when it comes to pets and pet ownership, I can do that. And I can help people with that. And that matters to me.
We do have a comment from our live viewer. This is Jonas, and Jonas has a dog who has trouble around, it sounds like eating too much and
Yeah.
having pain, and they have
Yeah.
to be careful not to
Yeah.
give her too much
Mhm.
food.
Yep. It's really, really important. This is actually one of the things Marty and I talk about more than almost anything else is managing our pet's diet and managing it appropriately. And there's a lot of people that have appropriated the research that was done actually by Purina that did feeding trials,
Uh-huh.
and dogs that were fed and kept at a lean body weight lived 3 years longer than pets that were allowed to eat however much they wanted and became obese.
Oh, wow.
3 years of your dog's
Yeah.
life in a lifetime that maybe is going to last 14 years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a huge percentage.
Huge
I can't do
percentage.
math that fast, but
No, but it's a lot. And so if you can extend your dog's life by 3 years by simply giving it an appropriate diet, limiting its intake, giving it the calorie needs, feeding it, fewer snacks, feeding ice cubes and carrots instead of fancy expensive cookies from the dog cookie shop, right? There's things that we can do that are super simple that will make our pets' lives better. And that's the kind of information that we're talking about.
And so, what has been some of the feedback that you've gotten from the Marty and Laura show specifically for the more everyday general pet owner? What have you heard?
The reviews that have come in have all been super positive, like, oh my God, I didn't know that, or, thank you for helping me with my dogs, whatever it is, right? So it's really rewarding. We have the Pure Dog Talk page actually has a testimonial page, a whole testimonial page about how we call it Pure Dog Talk saved my life. And so most of the submissions to the testimonial page are about how something Marty and I talked about on Pure Dog Talk saved their dog's life. So it's a pretty amazing and powerful thing that we've been able to do, and we just want to take it to the big ocean of audience instead of just our little tadpole puddle.
And what have been some of the biggest challenges with either with starting this new show
Mhm.
and kind of crafting a new audience, or just in general with growing a podcast-based business? What are some of the challenges that you've been working through?
So Pure Dog Talk for me was actually relatively simple to build
Mhm.
an audience because I was very well known in the world, right? Like in my tiny little tadpole world, I was someone people knew and had, some level of respect for. And I always tell people if I don't know the answer, I know somebody who does. And
Yeah.
it's um, I literally know who to get to, and 2 degrees of separation is really big deal. We don't even have that. I can call one person and get the answer to 90% of what I need to know.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty simple, I knew the steps, I knew the marketing, I knew the advertising, I knew what levers to push, right? And it's a small audience, so it doesn't take that much effort to get to the audience, right?
Yeah.
And so starting the Marty and Laura show, it's been time consuming, but otherwise pretty straightforward. Like Marty and I know each other, we know the subject matter, we've got all the equipment, like it's not hard that way. The biggest way is trying to figure out how to tap into this vast ocean. Like I need a stream. I'm in a puddle. I need a stream. I need to get to the ocean.
From the puddle
From
to
the
the
puddle
ocean.
to the ocean. Yes, exactly. That finding the proper stream to get to the right river, to get to the ocean, that's been my challenge. And I'm really kind of just poking and pushing at various different ways to increase that audience, because we know how this works. If you have audience, you get advertisers and sponsors. And if you don't, you don't. And bottom line, so if it's a business, I need advertisers and sponsors to have a business. And before it even becomes a business, the idea is that we're trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't help them if we don't gut them the information.
Right. What has worked that you've tried and what has failed miserably?
Well, I'll tell
I'm
you.
not assuming that things have failed miserably, but
we've had miserable failures, not due to anybody's bad effort, but because we thought this was a good idea and we just couldn't implement it the way it needed to go.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we tried was, there was a dog fair, kind of thing in Seattle that friends of mine were involved with. And I think it would have been much more successful if Marty or I could actually have been there. But unfortunately, the date it was being held, we were giving a seminar in Hawaii. And so that was a great idea that we couldn't implement as well as we needed to actually have it bring us an audience share.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you just keep trying, you just keep poking. I mean, I'm here talking to you because you are a person who talks to the great wide world. And I think that the best way that I've been able to explain it to people is that I'm really good at preaching to the choir, right? That's what Pure Dog Talk is. Like, I'm talking to my own people. I have really good access to them. I'm really, but I want to stand on the street corner and like wave signs at the crowd, right? Like, just get outside the church and talk to the person who's doesn't necessarily have access to this information.
And when we talk about this series, which let me pop this up on here. So this series on the Creative Impostor is when your art becomes your job. And so your art is dogs, it's pets, it's animals, it's showcasing the best of whether it is your purebred show dog or whether it is your lovely, fluffy
watching Netflix.
Yes. Making sure they have the very best care. Fact-based information sounds like it's really key to the work that you're doing. And, I'm somebody who also has a tendency to turn my interests, my hobbies, my passions, things that I love to do into a job and into work. And there are so many reasons to do that. And there are so many reasons why it sometimes sucks to do.
Yeah. I can remember the day when my mom and I would, load a dog in the back of the car and drive to a dog show and hang out and stop at the lake on the way home. And, that was, I built my entire life around my passion for that, the love for it that my mom and I had, cramming a bunch of people into a Honda station wagon and just going to the dog show. Right.
Yeah.
And, it absolutely, the dog fancy, the world that I literally grew up in, is a second family. I mean, it's legitimately and seriously my chosen family. I go to the national event for my breed every year, and I see people that I only see once a year, just like a family reunion. Okay, like straight up, people I like, people I don't like. They're all there.
The whole family.
The whole family's there. And sometimes crazy Uncle Ed can't make it. And you're like, darn. But the point is, that's the family I chose. And I love that family, and I'm happy to have it. And it has been very natural for me to take my passion, my love of dogs, my abilities, and turn them into a fulfilling career, multiple fulfilling careers. And there are days that I would like to have gone on vacation somewhere other than Ionia, Michigan, where it was the Wire Hair Pointer Field Trial National, and, sleep in the back of my truck and ride horses in the snow.
As someone who grew up in Michigan, in West Michigan, Yeah, Ionia's not a
Ionia, I'm
great
telling you, Ionia,
destination.
it is a destination hotspot in my world. I mean, the thing is you're in charge of animals. You don't get vacations, right? Because you're working 24 hours a
Yeah.
day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There is no break from taking care of 20 dogs.
Yeah.
There's just not. And if you hire help, they're still going to screw it up. And
Wait, were
so
you taking care of 20 dogs at once?
oh, that would be really normal, 20 to 30.
Oh, that's so many.
When I lived in Nebraska and I was married to the field trial guy, we had 20 dogs and 2 horses and a barn full of pigeons. So,
Wow.
I mean, this is what I said, a lot of animals and a lot of years of a lot of animals. And there's
Wow.
only so much pitching hay, running in left-handed circles, lifting 100-pound dogs and crates and baths and brushes and I mean, like, it's hard physical work. And my back would like to tell you all about it.
Wow.
So that's sort of a downside. Upside is the family. Downside is there's really no break. There's no vacation,
Mhm.
other than whatever dog event you're going to. I got married one time, and instead of going on a honeymoon, I went to a dog show. So yeah, it is a level of wackadoo that most people cannot begin to comprehend. I have a chosen family because my by blood family is like, you just peace out, sister. Because I could never make it.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, there was always a litter of puppies, or Christmas, I just barely made it home from the big dog show. I mean, it's just always a thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a lot of intense niche worlds, right? I mean,
Mm.
there's people that are competitive athletes. There's people that are in horses.
Yeah.
It's its own world, man. But I have been blessed. I have been incredibly blessed because I have had the opportunity to live with and be blessed by some of the most amazing creatures you can ever imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do, like, what brings you back to that passion and that feeling of being blessed when it does start to feel like work, when it does start to
When
feel
I'm
like,
when
why
I'm
am I
on my
doing
hands
this?
and knees in the back of a 400 crate with a blowout diarrhea and the dog, yeah, there are days.
Yours or the dogs?
The dogs.
Oh, good.
You gotta clean the crate, man, and so it's at the back, and then you're on your hands and knees crawling. Oh, the weak stomach, and you're trying not to puke and make the mess worse. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's days it's a gross job, man. There's what's that TV show, The Grossest Jobs on Earth, whatever that TV show is. Yeah, nobody ever did dog handler on there, and they are missing out.
They are missing out. Um,
But you know what? For me, honestly, it is a litter of puppies is
mm,
really a big, like, new life, new hope, new potential, families' lives that are going to be completely changed by this amazing opportunity with this dog as a companion, as whatever they're going to do with it. Puppies always bring me home. Um, that connection that you get with a really great dog, and you are a team in a way that you really aren't with any person.
mhm,
And you can just kind of shift your weight, and the dog does a certain thing. It's just really pretty impressive.
mhm.
And that is, I miss that. I judge dog shows now, so
Yeah.
I get to pat a lot of dogs, but I don't ever get that connection. And on the podcast, I interviewed a long time, very famous dog show judge. And I asked him what was his favorite thing about judging dog shows. And he told me, and he was this big man, big, tall, 6'5", 6", big, deep baritone voice from Canada. He says, for that 2 minutes, that's my dog.
Oh,
And I have really held that in my heart ever since that conversation. And now that I'm judging dogs, I completely agree. That's like, I don't get to have 20 dogs. I don't get to have those relationships. I don't get to build
Yeah.
that that working teamwork with a dog. So now all I get is a couple minutes, but I'll take it. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. And what is it that, I mean, so doing the podcast, you don't get that same relationship building and that same like
Not with the dog.
interactivity. Not with the dogs.
I still have dogs of my
I
own.
was gonna say, I know a lot of animal people prefer animals to humans, so I'm not
Oh
sure
God,
if
yeah.
you fall into that.
100%. In fact, most dog handlers, their biggest problem, and what we try to explain to kids coming up, I know you like dogs better than people, but the problem is the people pay the bills. So
Yes.
you
Yeah.
have to be able to get along with the people. That was one of my big struggles. That was a hardship. But yeah, I still have dogs. I have 3 dogs now. I have an old Shiba who retired with me. I have a Spinoni Italiano who was born here, and I have a German Wirehair Pointer puppy that was actually goes back to my family of dogs. And anyway, long story, but so that's my personal household at the moment.
Um, so why podcasting as a platform as opposed to blogging or YouTubing or, whatever it is you could be doing?
Honestly, when Mary came to me and said she wanted to have me do this, and I didn't want to, and I hedged and hedged and hedged, she flew up here from LA and sat down at the kitchen table with a mic in front of me and said, "Talk." Like, but anyway, the podcasting has really become such a valuable opportunity to reach people. And I think this is true for both the audiences. People don't want to admit they don't know something,
Mhm.
particularly in today's world. They just don't want to say they don't know.
Mhm.
And so a podcast is a secret. It's
Mm.
in their ear. They don't have to tell anybody they didn't know. And now they do know. And it's amazing. And we've had, when I say that the testimonial page on Pure Dog Talk is a mile long, I'm not kidding. I get emails, calls, messages, whatever, in live interactions with people almost daily,
Yeah.
that because of me, because of Pure Dog Talk, their life changed. They started breeding otter hounds that are more rare than giant pandas. They got brave enough to go to a dog show and show their dog. They changed their life trajectory, and now they have a farm and they want to breed dogs. Like, I mean, all of these things, I'm a I don't know, like a missionary at heart. Like, I want to help people,
Yeah.
right? And that this has been a way for me to do that.
That's amazing. What does it mean to you to be a voice in the industry, like the industry that starting at 12 with your first sad little purebred who was doing
Very sad
doing
and
her
pathetic
best.
Edsel. She did in her sweater vest. Oh my God, I love her.
To where you are now and being sort of this figure and this voice in the industry. What does that mean to you?
It is gladdening, obviously. I mean, it makes you humble and all those kick and scuff kind of things. But I'm really, really fortunate, and I am so pleased that I'm able to pay it forward. A lot of people put a lot of effort into me, and this enables me to put a lot of effort into a lot more people than I
Yeah.
could any other way.
Yeah. That's awesome. So for listeners and viewers, I forget sometimes that this is video. Once again, the Marty and Laura show is where you can get all your pet fact-based
Fact-based
knowledge,
pet information.
pet information to give your pets a longer, lovinger,
Happier life.
happier life.
Healthy,
um,
healthy.
available on all the podcast platforms,
Yes.
I'm quite certain.
Yes, all the podcast platforms, YouTube, you name it. It's hard to get away from us. We'll find you.
And as for the Creative Imposter, of course, we're going to be continuing on into the new year with When Your Art Becomes Your Job, which you can find the YouTube playlist of live streams on Thursdays and the slightly edited with a new intro for me episodes will be coming out in the new year. And you find the YouTube playlist at bit.ly/art versus job, which I realized after I created the short link that that's a terrible short link because no one knows, is it versus spelled out? Is it just a V? Is it VS? It is bit.ly/art VS job. So that
You
is
know
how
what?
it
We all do
works.
the best we can, man.
We're all over here doing our best, just
Doing
like
our
that
best.
that first little dog doing her best.
Yeah, poor Edsel. She was very sweet. She wasn't very smart. Like, that's why I wound up with wire hairs. She was I would have to she would eat slugs. So I'd come home from school and I'd have to peel her lips apart because they were stuck together with slug slime. Wire hairs are
Wow.
much smarter. That's
I've
a thing for people to know, right? Like you know you don't look like your dog, you are your dog. And I wanted to be pretty and elegant and all sweet and all the things that an English setter was, and it turns out I wasn't, and that I was like a wire hair pointer. I'm a little bristly and I'm a little sharp and I might bite you. And as I've gotten older, I have my own chin whiskers. So there you go. That's the defining difference.
And I think that is a perfect place to end our conversation for today.
Maybe
Chin
more than we needed,
whiskers.
but.
Awesome, Laura. Thank you so much for being a part of the Creative Imposter for our When Your Art Becomes Your Job series and for sharing more about Pure Dog Talk and the Marty and Laura show. And let's say goodbye to our viewers. But don't you go
Bye.
anywhere.
Thank you, Andrea. I very much appreciate the opportunity.